The 2026 Canada Immigration Reality Check: Why 80% will fail and how to be in the 20%. Hey everyone, Pius here from Chugo Immigration Services, and today I need to have a very uncomfortable conversation with you. I'm going to tell you something that most immigration consultants won't say out loud. 80% of people who dream of immigrating to Canada will never make it. That sounds harsh, but it's the statistical truth. With over 200,000 people in the express entry pool competing for 380,000 total PR spots across all categories, and millions more applying through other streams, the failure rate is massive. But here's the good news. I'm going to show you exactly what separates the 20% who succeed from the 80% who don't. If you implement what I share in the next 10 minutes, you can dramatically increase your odds of being one of the winners. This is your reality check and your roadmap. Let's get started. The harsh truth. Why most fail. Let me break down the real reasons why most applications fail or never even get submitted. Failure reason number 1. Passive waiting, the number 1 killer. People create an express entry profile with a 430 CRS score and just wait. They wait for scores to drop. They wait for a miracle. Meanwhile, they age out, lose 5 points per year, and watch opportunities pass them by. Statistics. Over 60% of express entry profiles expire without ever receiving an ITA. That's 120,000 plus people every year who waited for nothing. Failure. Reason number 2, lack of research. People apply to the wrong programs. An IT worker applies to a province that only wants healthcare workers. A college diploma holder applies to a stream that requires a university degree. Simple mismatches that could have been avoided with 2 hours of research. Failure. Reason number 3, poor documentation. Vague employment reference letters, missing dates, inconsistent information between forms. IRCC rejects thousands of applications every year for documentation issues that were completely preventable. Failure. Reason number 4, single pathway thinking. I'm only doing express entry. I only want Ontario. This rigid thinking means one policy change, like Ontario pausing draws, ends their entire plan. Failure. Reason number 5, no strategic improvement. They have CLB 8 and IELTS, but never retake it for CLB 9. They don't learn French. They don't upgrade their education. They don't pursue in-demand certifications. They stay static in a dynamic system. Failure. Reason number 6, giving up too soon. Immigration is a marathon, not a sprint. The moment it gets hard, when the first application is refused or when CRS scores go up, they quit. They tell themselves it's not meant to be. Failure. Reason number 7, DIY complex situations. Someone with gaps in employment, multiple countries of residence, or complex work histories tries to do it all themselves. One mistake equals refusal and equals possible ban for 5 years. The uncomfortable truth. If you see yourself in any of those failure reasons, you're currently on track to be in the 80%. But you don't have to stay there. The success formula. What the 20% do differently. Now let me tell you what I see in every single successful client. Success trait number 1, they are aggressive strategists. The 20% don't wait. They create an express entry profile and file 3 to 4 provincial expression of interest simultaneously. They apply for LMIA exempt work permits while building their PR application. They research 10 or more pathways and pursue the 3 most realistic options, and they set 90-day action plans with measurable goals. Here is a real example. Patricia from Nigeria, CRS 440. Instead of waiting, she applied to Alberta, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick PNPs. She booked a TEF test, and this added 25 French points to her CRS. She upgraded to a 1-year graduate certificate in cybersecurity, and she got Alberta PNP nomination in 4 months. The result? PR in 14 months while her friends with 470 CRS are still waiting. And swimming in the express entry pool. Success trait number 2, they invest in themselves. The 20% understand that spending money now saves years later. They retake language tests until they hit CLB 9, pay for ECA assessments even if expensive, enroll in Canadian certification programs, and hire RCICs for complex situations. Here is another real example. Carlos from Mexico spent $3,000 on a 6-month French course, hit CLB 7, got invited through the French-speaking category draw at CRS 412. That $3,000 investment got him a $60,000 a year job and permanent residence. ROI equals infinite. Success trait number 3, they build plan A, B, C, D. The 20% have contingency plans. For instance, Plan A, Express Entry Federal Skilled Worker. Plan B, Provincial Nominee Program, 2 to 3 provinces. Plan C, Get Canadian Work Experience First, LMIA or IMP. And Plan D, Pursue Study Permit for Canadian Credential, then CEC. When one door closes, they immediately pivot to the next. Success. Trait number 4, they master the art of documentation. The 20% treat their application like a legal case. Their employment letters are 2 to 3 pages with detailed job duties. They proactively explain any gaps or inconsistencies, they over-document everything, and they get professional review before submission. Success trait number 5, they embrace Canada's priorities. The 20% don't fight the system, they align with it. Does the government want French speakers? They learn French. Do category draws favor healthcare? They pursue healthcare certifications. Which provinces need workers? They target provincial programs. They go where they're wanted, not where they wish. Success trait number 6, they have a Canadian immigrant mindset. The 20% are willing to move to smaller cities for easier pathways, take a slight pay cut initially for Canadian experience, work harder than they ever have, and make sacrifices today for a better tomorrow. They understand that getting PR is the first step, not the final destination. Here's your competitive edge checklist. Ask yourself honestly about each of the questions. Language. Checklist. Have I achieved CLB 9 in English? Or highest possible? Have I started learning French? Even CLB 5 helps. And am I willing to retake tests until I max out points? Education. Checklist. Is my education assessed by a recognized ECA body? Does my credential give me maximum points? Would a Canadian 1-year postgrad certificate boost my profile? Occupation checklist. Is my NOC code in an in-demand category? Am I targeting category-based draws? And have I researched which provinces prioritize my occupation? Documentation. Checklist. Are my employment letters 100% complete with duties, dates, and a cover letter? Have I explained every gap or inconsistency proactively? Have I had a professional, RCIC, review my critical documents? Pathway diversification. Checklist. Have I submitted EOI to multiple provinces? Do I have a backup plan if my primary pathway fails? And am I exploring LMIA exempt work permits as a bridge? Mindset checklist. Am I willing to move to a less popular province? Am I prepared for a 2 to 3 year journey? Will I persevere even if I face setbacks? Score yourself 14 to 18 check marks. You're likely in the 20%. Keep pushing. 9 to 13 check marks. You're on the right track, but need to step up your game. 0 to 8 check marks. You're currently in the 80%, time for a serious strategy change. The Canadian dream is worth the fight. Now let me remind you why being in the 20% is worth every ounce of effort. What success looks like. Imagine this. 3 years from now, you're living in a safe country where your kids walk to school without fear. You are earning in Canadian dollars with benefits and job security, and accessing free healthcare for your entire family. You are building home equity instead of paying rent forever. You're planning your first vacation with a Canadian passport, and you are watching your parents visit you in your new home. Let me give you a few real stories. Sarah from Nigeria spent 2 years learning French, got CRS from 380 to 445. Now a nurse in Montreal earning $75,000 a year. Changed her entire family's trajectory. Ahmed from Egypt couldn't compete in express entry. Got LMIA work permit in Saskatchewan, built 18 months experience, got PNP nomination. Now he owns a home in Regina. Anita from Philippines studied for 1 year postgrad certificate in Ontario, got PGWP, worked in her field, got Ontario PNP. Now she is a Canadian citizen running her own business. These weren't lucky people. These were strategic people who refused to be in the 80%. The uncomfortable truth part 2. Getting into Canada is hard. The competition is fierce. The system is complex, but that's exactly why it's valuable. If it were easy, everyone would do it. The difficulty is what makes Canadian PR one of the most valuable immigration statuses in the world. Don't let the difficulty discourage you. Let it motivate you to be better, smarter, and more strategic than the 80% who will give up. May I suggest your immediate action plan? Here's what you do this week to move yourself into the 20%. Today, next 24 hours. Calculate your current CRS score honestly. Identify your weakest area, language, education, experience, and book a language test or start a French course. This week, research 5 provinces and their PNP requirements. Create accounts on provincial EOI portals. Update your LinkedIn to Open to Opportunities in Canada. Join 3 Canadian immigration Facebook groups. This month, submit your first provincial EOI. Get your education credentials assessed. Connect with 10 Canadian employers in your field on LinkedIn. Create a backup plan, Plan B and C. Set a firm timeline. Ongoing, review IRCC news weekly. Track your progress monthly. Adjust strategy quarterly and never give up. Let me close with this. The 80% who fail aren't less intelligent or less deserving. They simply weren't strategic enough, didn't push hard enough, or gave up too soon. The 20% who succeed aren't superhuman. They're just more committed, more flexible, and more willing to do what others won't. You get to decide which group you're in. If you're serious about being in the 20%, we can help. At Chugo Immigration Services, we specialize in turning maybe profiles into approved applications. We'll honestly assess if your profile is competitive, identify your blind spots, create a multi-pathway strategy, and prevent costly mistakes. Don't be in the 80%. Subscribe to this channel, implement what you learned today, and let's make your Canadian dream a reality. I'm Pius, RCIC at Chugo Immigration Services. The 20% Club is waiting for you.